Hey friends. Okay, so I guess this counts as day 2 since I did that. Yeah. I'm in Connecticut. I'm on business, but today has been a full day. It's been beautiful. I'm grateful. So I showed you all my post-it notes. So while I was packing, I was like, okay, take a few post-it notes so you can at least say something every day. So I have a few I have a few notes, and this one today is this was when I was in the Word in my prayer closet, and so I wrote this. I said, every phase in history, people were witness to God's work, His power, and every time He required their trust, there was a request for proof or some sort of, you know, they wanted to know that what they were believing, was valid, right? As if God hasn't proved himself over and over again. And so I'm realizing I have been idle and not walking toward him in fullness because I've had moments of doubt. But I have no business being in doubt. Not only is my own life and how he's worked through my life evidence, but there's evidence through history. We say hindsight is 2020. And so the Israelites, right? When he they witnessed all of those plagues in Egypt. They witnessed the Red Sea parting and Egypt being swallowed up right after they, crossed, right? They witnessed all of that and still in the desert wanted proof that God was still for them. Okay? And then you go all the way to the New Testament and Peter, right? Peter walked on water. He saw things in Christ and he walked on water until he saw the waves. And the waves even had him distracted and succumbing to the waves, the doubt, right? When he took his eyes off God. And so when God tells us to walk to him, he's saying walk by faith. And he's proved himself every single time. And how do I know? Like, I would say, well, of course, if Christ was standing out there on the water and he said I could walk on water, of course I'm running out there. But why? Why do I know that if I see Christ right in front of me, that I would do that? Well, because Peter did that. So, but Peter didn't have anybody that walked on water before him. He just had the other examples of the people in history that God had empowered, that God had covered, that God had defended, that God had fought for, to have his faith in God. But even in the moment of the waves, he doubted, right? And so I have the people that came before me. I also have the evidence of what he's done in my own life. Because Peter had also seen Christ do a bunch of miracles in his own life. But I say all of this to say, I have no business questioning, what God has put inside of me. You don't have any business questioning what God has put inside of you. And when he asks you to walk to him, he's not saying, walk to me and do it because you know that it's going to be this A, B, and C. He says walk by faith, not by sight. And so it's laughable for me to say, well, God, if you were, out on the water, I would get out of the boat and I would walk. Well, yeah, of course. But what does that say? I have to see you in order for me to move. He's already shown me so much. He's already proved himself. Like, for example, like, I don't like when my character is at question because I try my hardest to show people my heart. I try my hardest to be upfront about how I do things or how I intend for things. And so when my character is in question, it bothers me. And so I expect that it probably bothers God too, that he tells me to do something, especially after everything he's shown me that he can do. And I question him. I question his faithfulness. I question, his power. Me being obedient and walking by faith is me showing him that I trust him. and me showing him that, you know what, you've shown me enough. My cup is full of evidence and I can move. So I just say all that to say, to encourage somebody, especially if you're walking in doubt at some point, like, no need. I'm coming out of it myself. I'm getting ready to take this coat off because it was cold outside and it's warm in here. But anyways, love y'all. I don't know who needed to hear that, but God does. Day 2.